What's up, everybody? This is Logan Hanks with the Living Fully Loaded podcast. I've got an absolute beast on the show today, and that's Correy Hawk. If you haven't seen him, you need to check him out. That's the organic archer. And as we were just talking about, the dude can literally make like any weapon that you need, from slingshots to bows and everything. He's a bad man, and he's an awesome dude. Correy, what's up, brother?
Just hanging out here at the end of the workday. Thanks for having me on, Logan. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. I'm excited. So, Correy, the way I like to kind of begin, I'm going to do a few general questions just to kind of shake off the cobwebs and get us rolling.
Sure. Sounds great.
All right, you got to give up one of three. Burgers, pizza, or tacos. Which one is going?
Tacos.
Tacos?
Yep. I got to have my burgers, man. The pizza's probably my favorite cheat meal, so can't give it up.
Yeah. Well, and pizza, like I said, with a ton of people, that's like the easy go-to.
For sure. Yeah. Late night, don't know what to make, order some pizza. Problem solved.
Yeah. But now tacos, see, I'm kind of surprised because, like, if somebody's watching, like Correy, he's a ripped up dude. I mean, tacos, man, you can eat lean and a variety of stuff with tacos. So do you eat tacos very often?
Not very often, but I do enjoy them when they come around. I like to do just all kinds of different ones: breakfast tacos, steak tacos, pork, whatever. Just kind of mix it up. But if I had to give one up, can't get rid of my burgers or my pizza.
Yeah, no, man, that's burgers. I've said to several other people, burgers is like an American staple. Like, I feel like you can't be an American and give up a burger. I think I've probably had like two people give up a burger on the show. So,
nuts. Anything I can put in a taco, I can just put right on top of a burger. Problem solved.
That's pretty true. Yeah, you could actually. A burger is as versatile as a taco, really.
Definitely.
All right, you got to watch one movie for 24 hours in a row. What are you watching?
The Revenant.
All right, that's an awesome movie. That fits you. I can see that, man. I could see you going up against a bear with a knife.
I don't know about all that. I just enjoyed the story. I know they embellished it a little bit from the real version, but still pretty cool, fun to watch.
Yeah. Did you look into the real story on it?
I did, yeah. I can't remember the finer details, but I know they definitely spiced it up with the whole horse scene, with the dead body and everything.
Yeah.
All right, are we back?
Yeah, are you good to go?
I'm good, man. We got technical difficulties. I'm not super savvy with this new phone here, so did it mess up the recording, or are we good?
No, we're good. Let me start it back up here. Cool. All right, there we go. We had a little technical difficulty. So we were talking about the Revenant. Yeah, they spiced it up a little bit, but that, like, the best or the worst part is the real ending to the story. Because I got to looking, I don't even think they fought each other when he found the guy.
Yeah, no, I think he forgave him in the end, right? And just let him walk.
Yeah. I guess is a great ending, but
yeah, I like the ending from the movie better.
I do too. Yeah, the hatchet to the fingers while they're fighting in the creek there. Yes,
definitely.
So no, that was an awesome movie, man. I like The Revenant, and that one fits. I was expecting you to go with something like that or Jeremiah Johnson. I could kind of see you going that route. So cool. All right.
Yeah, I haven't actually seen. Go ahead. Sorry, we got a little audio delay. Sounds like.
Yeah. No. Go on.
I was just going to say I haven't even seen Jeremiah Johnson's stuff, but I just see the memes and everything. Everybody keeps telling me I got to watch it.
If you enjoy like The Revenant, and I mean, knowing kind of how you are, I would say you would like Jeremiah Johnson. That's one of my favorite movies. I mean, it's like the ultimate, just dude is like had it with the city life, even though this was an old movie, but he's had it with kind of that life and decides he's just going to be a mountain man. And dude, it's a pretty wicked movie.
I'm going to have to check it out.
Yeah, you need to. So, okay, they're going to make a movie about your life. Who's going to play you?
Henry Cavill.
That's fitting, man. That's funny. I've never thought about that, but you kind of look like Henry, man.
People drop that in the comments section every once in a while, so I figure might as well just have him play me if there's going to be a movie.
Yeah, man. I've never thought about that. I've never actually thought about that until you just said that, but I can see it.
I think it's just when I shave the mustache that gets people all mixed up.
Yeah, man. All right, well, there you go. That was an easy one. That was a pretty easy round for you there. But I'm warmed up, man. I'm ready, and so I want to hear. Let's start from the very beginning, man. Let's get your whole story growing up, because I mean, like I said, dude, you're doing awesome stuff today, and you have some skills that not the normal person knows how to do. I mean, like making the bows and doing all these things. It's not something that everybody just knows how to do. So, kind of take us all the way back to the beginning, and how did Correy become Correy?
Yeah, so I mean, I was raised in a real small town in southeast Nebraska. It's technically a village, only has about 100 people in it. Went to a neighboring school in a town of about 1,000, so real small school, like 20 people per graduating class. That's kind of a little bit about my, I guess, area that I grew up in, just small town Nebraska. Come from a long line of avid outdoorsmen. All the men on my mother and father's side are big into hunting and archery, firearms, just self-reliance in the outdoor world, I guess. So we were really exposed to it a lot as kids. Every vacation I can remember, as far back as it goes, was pretty much us packing up in a big convoy full of all the kids, the parents, the uncles, the cousins, everybody with their bows and arrows headed out west to chase, antelope or turkeys or mule deer. So lots of archery in the family, a lot of fishermen as well, especially kind of the elders, I guess you would call them, right? My grandparents and my great uncles and things like that. They were all big into fishing. So we learned a lot about that from them. And it was just part of our life growing up. We sort of, as a family, all the way extended, would immerse ourselves in the wilderness for weeks at a time. Chasing game, learning about wild edibles, learning about fishing, a little bit about trapping, but it wasn't really something that was big in our family. Yeah. Definitely just being taught about animal behavior, and I was very fortunate to be raised up in a family that really appreciated the wilderness and the animals, and they taught us to respect them, and pack out what you pack in, and just that's where really the archery came from. I got my first bow and arrow when I was 3 years old, and wow. It was just a little, cheap bow with plastic arrows and suction cups on them, but I would shoot that thing every day, carried it with me everywhere I went. And as I got older, started getting into, like the starter pack compound bows and just different recurves and long bows.
Were you an only child, or do you have siblings?
I've got a brother and a sister.
Okay.
So
I guess, was there some competition there on who could outshoot who on the bows?
There was definitely competition between me and my brother all the time. My sister grew up to not really be that much into the outdoors type, at least not the hardcore stuff. But my brother's still pretty wild. He might be a little bit more wild than me. He's really? If he's back home from military leave, he's chasing something. Whether he's out coyote hunting, deer, turkeys, seining for crawdads in the creek. I don't know. He's out raccoon hunting all night long. Whatever's in season, he's down.
Awesome.
So that's kind of where the archery came from. As I grew up, you kind of get different interests, and you get interested in cars and girls and stuff in high school. So I sort of put the bows away. I shoot them once in a while. Eventually, I went to college for a year or so. Decided that wasn't really my thing. I really wasn't. It's not that it wasn't challenging. It just really didn't keep me stimulated, I guess. I really was not built for sitting in classes and listening to lectures and things like that, and doing tons of homework. So decided to try something a little more, at least physically challenging, by joining the Marine Corps. So I joined the Marines, enlisted as a motor transport operator. But shortly after I was attached to the 1st Marine Regiment, I was sent away to become a vehicle recovery operator. So that's what I spent most of my time as. spent 4 years with the Marines, did 2 combat tours in Afghanistan, came back home, just started working a normal job, trying to get back on my feet after the big shift of, moving back into the civilian world. I joined the Marines in 2009 and I got out in 2013.
Yeah. I got you. That's what I had some buddies in that probably around similar time. That's kind of why I asked. I wasn't sure when. What were you, backing up a little bit, what were you going to go to college for? What degree?
Health and nutrition sciences. And I was also very interested in psychology. So that was kind of my backup plan.
Yeah.
But I was definitely.
What exactly turned you off on the college thing?
I just don't like homework. I just don't, I don't want to have to be committed to something all day long and then come home and have somebody tell me that I've got to, stay up all night long, do these projects. It's just frustrating because every professor gives you enough homework to last you the whole day. And if you've got 5 of those, it just seems like a giant ocean of homework that you can never escape from. And I just really, it wasn't my thing. Yeah. I just felt like I needed something better to do. Something more just physically stimulating.
I get that. That's what, and actually George, I think George that I had on the podcast recently. You know him, George Cole?
Yeah, definitely.
Me and him got on a pretty good college rant. Man, I'm not going to fire it back up on this one, but I just think that it's kind of a broken thing. I think there's elements that need to be fixed. And like you said, like I went to tech school. And so when I went to tech school to be a machinist, from day one, everything was oriented towards me becoming a machinist. There was no I didn't have to go study Shakespearean English in order to go be a machinist. And that's what George and I were talking. There's a lot of elements like that I think, honestly, a lot of people probably go and feel like they're wasting their time. And it's like, man, I could cut out the kind of BS classes, cut my degree in half, cut my costs in half, and get the same degree. So I didn't know what exactly. That's why I asked what was it that you really didn't like about college? I mean, I didn't go to college, like tech school. I knew in high school I hated school enough that college was not in my trajectory.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I was probably just doing what I was supposed to do. There's the societal pressure to go to college, especially if you don't know what you're going to do. But I think the world's sort of making a big shift back to the skilled trades. I mean, I always encourage, younger people that I talk to that don't know what they're going to do, like the military is a great option, or going to school for a skilled trade is a great option because you're going to get right out of school relatively quickly. I mean, most trade schools are under 2 years, I would think, and go right into the workforce straight away with a good, middle income and just work your way up. The more skill you gain, I guess the sky's the limit if you're a proficient worker and skilled at what you do. So these kids that just go, just for the sake of it because they don't know what else to do, and then they get sort of trapped in their youth for another 4 years, end up hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. Then they get out of there with a degree that doesn't really serve them in the real world. That Shakespearean English degree is not going to serve you very well when it comes time to get a proper job.
Yeah. Yeah. No, man, I'm with you. And I kind of like what you say there. And I've told my wife this. I'm kind of a fan of a gap year. People, when you get out of, people finishing high school and taking a year to go get a job somewhere and just try something out. Or like you said, join the military. Like I never joined the military, but I mean, I went into farming. I mean, I pretty much kind of knew my path anyways. I knew the farm would ultimately be where I'd wind back up. And, but the military, and I like it too, because people that scream that they want education paid for, I mean, I know that you can get that GI Bill, and I think it'll help, as far as I know, it'll help with your schooling. So, I mean, you can earn some schooling. But I don't know, man. I do. I think people, I like the fact if somebody doesn't know for sure what they want to do, try some stuff out instead of going to college. Because I think a ton of people go to college not knowing what they want to do, and then they waste maybe 4 years of their life in there, or they get a degree and then they never do a job related to the degree that they have.
Definitely. Yeah, I've got a lot of people in my social circle that, sort of went that route, ended up with degrees that they ultimately never even used. And then they, somehow came back around and ended up in a skilled trade anyway, except now they've got this looming debt over their head where they could have just started from zero if they would have went the skilled trade route in the beginning.
Yeah. All right? So then you went into the Marines there, and you were 4 years in the Marine Corps.
Yep. Yeah. 4 years.
After, was that an easy thing? Did you know going in you would probably do your 4 and out, or is that something going in you might lean towards going, making a career out of it, I guess?
I think going in, I sort of initially had the mentality that I was just going to do the 4 and then reevaluate from there. I mean, I was interested in, the GI Bill benefits and stuff like that. But what it really came down to is, I loved being a Marine. I really went hardcore when I was in there, and I got promoted up the ranks pretty quickly. And it would have been beneficial for me to stay in, but they dropped a reenlistment packet on my desk right after 2 back-to-back combat deployments in Helmand Province. So I was feeling pretty tired. It wasn't really the best time to approach with the reenlistment, and I just kind of weighed the pros and cons. And at that time, I felt like it might be better for me just to go back to the civilian world.
Was that a weird transition at that point, or were you able to kind of flow back into it?
It was a pretty easy flow. I think when everybody gets out of the military, especially, I was with 1st Marine Infantry Regiment. I was headquarters company motor transport. So we were basically, attached to the infantry regiment. So when you get home I lived on Camp Horno in Pendleton, which is an all-male infantry base, all-male infantry camp. So it's definitely a shift coming from that lifestyle. It's sort of like a big Marine Corps fraternity down there in Horno. It was a little bit of a shift just to get out of military mode, because at that time I was already a sergeant, and I had been put as a platoon sergeant for headquarters company motor transport. So I was kind of in this like leadership, like sergeant mentality, and you get out in the civilian world, and civilians don't respond to the same style of leadership. Yeah. So there was a little bit of an adjustment for me to kind of tone it back a little bit. But other than that, not really. I mean, the leadership skills that the Marine Corps gave me definitely served me well in the civilian world. I was usually, promoted to a leadership position very quickly, regardless of which career path I chose. So I'm happy I got out and became a civilian.
Yeah. Well, and I was going to say that speaks to your character there. I mean, people can pick up on it pretty quick that you're obviously a super hard worker. And I feel like that's something like if a guy, people wonder about how to be successful in things today. Like you see people all the time. And honestly, it's really, and I don't say this like I'm some ultra successful person, but really if you put your nose to the grindstone, typically good things follow. Like, if you just actually put your head down and work and do the job.
For sure. And people only see the end result. They only see the business and the self-employment and the trips for events, and just they only see the end result. They don't see the 5 years straight where I would work a full-time job and then come home and work all night long on bows, get a few hours of sleep, wake back up and do the same thing over 7 days a week. I was either at work or working on bows. So, but I think throughout my time in different career paths as a civilian, it's definitely seems to be more rare to find people that are willing to work hard. Finding good work is hard these days. Yeah. So it's nice it's all fine and dandy that you're doing, that people are doing the must be nice thing, but it really does just come down to putting your nose to the grindstone. You got to get up every day, do the thing whether you want to or not, because the pressure's on you as an entrepreneur. You don't have anybody to fall back on. You can't milk the time clock. You can't skim. So you got to go all in. It's the only way you're going to make it.
Yeah. I do love the must be nice thing. Like that is one thing. Cam Haynes does trip me out with that. I mean, and it is like you say, nobody sees all they see is like, the Instagram post, and where that's kind of just the highlight. I mean, people don't usually put up the drudgery that gets you there. It's typically just the highlight of the moment. Like, man, I don't know. I've had people all the time, they see us because I farm, and they see us have land, and they're like, oh man, it must be nice to have all this land and stuff. And it's like, well, considering my grandfather paid on it his whole life, my dad paid on it his whole life, I'm paying on it my whole life. Yeah, I mean, sure, there's nice stuff that comes with that, but it's not from sacrifices we haven't made. And that's like you said, man, what you hit on something I like, and I want to get to it at like kind of the moonlighting a goal kind of thing. And so let's go there. You got out of the Marines, and when you got out of there, where did you go from the Marines?
From the Marines, I went back into the auto body industry for 1 year. I was really big into auto body when I was younger. I started an apprenticeship when I was 14 at a small body shop in my hometown, kind of like an after school work program. You get off your last 2 classes to go to work if you qualify for work release. So I worked in a body shop for my last few years of high school, got out, worked at a body shop while I was in college. And then when I got back from the Marines, I went back to work for the body shop that I really enjoyed working for before I left. So I did that for a year. And then I picked up a position at a limestone mine. I was sort of the plant operations supervisor. So went and learned how to crush up limestone and keep a plant running.
Where'd you do that at?
That was down in southeast Nebraska, right on the Kansas border. There's a big limestone mine down there.
Is it a mine like I'm imagining like the coal mine where the dudes are under the ground mining for coal? Is that the same aspect?
This is an above ground mine, so just blasting big holes in the earth, no tunnels or anything.
Yeah.
Did that for about
what kind of explosives?
It was just like plastic explosives mostly. A little bit of, we would have these tubes of plastic explosives, and then some like anhydrous or like fertilizer based explosives for filling shot holes.
That's pretty awesome. We can't get that stuff anymore on the farm.
Yeah, no, I had to go through a lot of different things to get a permit just to even be qualified to wire the stuff up or to even touch it. So
is that's kind of, I don't know, that seems pretty fascinating to me. So y'all was it like in mountain, like hillside, you say, and you just blow it out? Like run us through that. How do you find limestone in the hillside? Like, do y'all have, at this day and age, is there a radar type thing you can search to find it?
Yeah, they have teams of like geologists that go out and survey the land, and they'll find, I don't know exactly what method they use, but they'll find, a large patch of limestone, like a large surface area just under and as long as it's not too deep, you'll start an above ground mine where you just kind of blast your way down to it. First, you take the earth layer off with heavy equipment, and then you blast the shale off because there's a shale layer above the limestone, and then you drill down and blast out the limestone, and that's the good stuff. But if it's deeper in the earth, then you got to do an underground mine. So I don't know. They just survey it, and there's a huge shelf of limestone down here in southeast Nebraska. So,
man, that's pretty cool. I don't know. I guess I never thought about that. We've dabbled with getting some explosive license because we have a bunch of beaver dams. We always say we're going to go just blow some beaver dams up, and we end up usually just taking the track hoe and just ripping them out. But if they're in a hard spot, we're like, hey, we need to get our license, get some dynamite or something and blow them jokers up.
Yeah. Might be able to just put some big canisters of tannerite out there and do the job.
Yeah. Yeah. That'd probably be a lot easier than going through the rigmarole of all the paperwork, I'm sure.
definitely.
So you did that for a little while. How long were you with the Limestone outfit?
About a year and a half. And that's when I started to moonlight the bows and arrows as well. I was kind of just, I don't know, working at a mine. Anybody who knows, anybody who's been there, it's all consuming. I mean, it's long shifts, sometimes up to 70-hour weeks. So you only get Sunday off if you're lucky, at least working in the mine that I was at. So not a lot of spare time. I just felt very unfulfilled, very consumed by my work. So I started to moonlight bows in the evening just as sort of like an artistic release. Sort of like a therapeutic release.
Was that something you figured? Did you self-teach like how to make them, or is that something you did you have somebody mentor you, or is that something you learned on your own?
It was really self-taught. What happened was I got this urge to kind of get back into archery. I think I was just looking for sort of like a moving meditation. At the time, I was fairly fresh out of the Marine Corps, so kind of just like feeling the anxieties of that. Still meshing back into the civilian world. So I was just looking for like a meditation practice. And I mean, I've been an archer my whole life. So I just picked back up a recurve bow, started breaking lots of arrows because I was shooting every single night after work. And then I decided to save money. I'd start to learn how to make my own wooden arrows. So I just bought some books, started reading online, watched every YouTube video, reading all the forums I could find, and started making my own arrows. And then probably 6 months after that, I felt a little weird shooting these homemade arrows out of my store-bought bow. So same thing, dove in head first, bought all the books I could find, watched every YouTube video, read every forum, and built my first bow, which ended up breaking, but I was hooked after that. I was building them at the time in just a dusty old basement, and did that for a solid year before I picked up another career and then moved up to Omaha area.
Do you turn the arrows on like a wood lathe? Is that how you make those?
No, there's a couple different methods. I learned to build my first arrows with just a jig and a chisel method. You just kind of make this jig and you cut it just right so that the chisel lays on top, and then you spin a squared off dowel rod through it. You just you select a board based on its grain structure. And then you run it through a table saw to make 3/8-inch squares. And then my first version of an arrow shaft making machine was just a chisel on a board, and I run it over you hook the the squared off stock into a electric drill and run it through the jig, and out comes a dowel. And I built arrows that way for quite a while, probably 6 months, until I started to experiment with router jigs, which is ultimately what I settled on. I built over the years many different variations of router jigs, and nowadays I use like version 10.0 that's more refined, and I'll probably use this one for the rest of the time that I choose to build.
How long would it take you to make one arrow when you started?
Oh man, when I first started, probably at least 2 hours per arrow. But I was making lots of mistakes. Making lots of mistakes. I'd go through all the trouble of I would decorate them very heavily, trying to make them my own. So I was taking a lot of time.
Now, how quickly can you make an arrow now?
I think all said and done, arrows probably take from start to finish 45 minutes to an hour each. Yeah. But I also outsource my arrow shafts now. It got to the point where the volume, years later, once I started organic archery and started selling online, the order volume got so high that it's just impossible to keep up when you're turning your own shafts. So now I outsource to a company called Sherwood Shafts in Oregon. So I just order bulk shafts, and then, but I still they're just raw. They just look like dowels. So I still have to cut the nocks, seal them. You got to cut and grind feathers. You've got to fletch them, taper the points, glue the points. So all said and done, it's still probably 45 minutes to an hour per arrow from start to finish.
Well, that's a good problem to have, though.
Yeah, definitely.
So, all right, I appreciate the fact that you moonlit on that. And starting out, it sounds like you didn't start making this bow with the intention of, I'm going to turn this into a business that I'll eventually do for my career. Like, did you have that initially in your head?
Not at all. no. I was just building for fun. I was building for myself. After a while, I just started building for friends, and then some more, extended friends started to want to buy them. I mean, this is like 1 year at a time progression. Maybe 3 years in, some people wanted to buy some. I was selling them for dirt cheap. They were pretty crude. Nothing like what I would sell today.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, probably close to 5 years went by, and I was just doing it for friends and family and for myself. And everyone was trying to pressure me to get on the internet because at the time I wasn't using social media. And they're saying, you got to start putting these bows online. People want to see this stuff. And I was like, nobody wants to see me make sticks. And so I started an Instagram account probably throughout 3 years ago, somewhere in that time frame. And I was posting my early bows on there. At that time, I had probably been building for 5 years already, but it didn't take very long. And some of the bigger names in the outdoor industry caught on. And like Donnie Dust and Matt Graham and those type of guys started reaching out to me. And I built a bow for Donnie Dust, and he took it on the Alone season 6, the Alone show with History Channel. And from there, it just kind of exploded, I guess.
Now, was that wild? Was that kind of wild when you started getting reached out to from people like that?
Definitely. I mean, that was my target demographic anyway. I mean, I really hoped to kind of at the time I wasn't planning on starting organic archery or anything, but I definitely, if anybody was going to take interest, I wanted it to be already bow hunters, already people in the outdoor industry. I was just really surprised at how early on some of the bigger names in the industry caught on, and I'm very thankful for them. They definitely helped put me on an upward trajectory early on, but from that point, it just kind of slowly snowballed.
And you say the dude, I didn't realize the guy took one of your bows on the show alone.
Yeah. Yep. Donnie Dust took it on season 6 of Alone, and that was probably the first time that the larger audience of people had seen the bows, and I guess they were asking him a lot. He was getting a lot of messages about it, and he just kept shooting people my way. And everybody in the outdoor industry is kind of fairly close knit, from like Winter Strong, and then there's the other events that I attend where it's a pretty small community and we all take care of each other. So yeah, he just started giving me shout outs, and more people caught on, and it got to the point where I had to make a decision. I had to either quit my job or quit building bows. So just took the leap.
Was that an easy decision?
No, definitely not. I was making good money at the time, and I knew that I was going to be just jumping into the deep, dark ocean. So
what were you doing at the time? I guess I forgot to ask you, what job had you gone to after the Limestone thing?
I eventually went to a large format advertising company. So up here in the Omaha area, it was a large company that took care of lots of like the wall murals that you see in the malls and like all the big advertisements, vehicle wraps, stuff like that. Just large format graphics, signage. They did like 3-dimensional work. We did stadiums, like basically anywhere that you see advertising that you can apply vinyl wrap to. That's what we were doing. Okay. I stayed with them for 4 years and some change. 4 years and some change while moonlighting as the whole time as well. Yeah.
Was it steadily was it gaining traction the entire time? Like, I feel like, man, at that point, were you starting to kind of wonder, is this going to turn into something? Like, as you've been doing it for a little while?
Yeah. I went hard for like 2 years. I mean, my last 2 years with the advertising company, I was going hard. I was working full time and coming home and working long nights every night and working all through the weekends just to keep up with bow orders and just to try to get my products out there. So I just started to get burnt out. It was more like a decision by necessity because I didn't know how much longer I'd be able to go on. I was just starting to look all like sunk in and sickly, from not getting any sleep. So, that's really what it came down to is I just couldn't take it anymore. I had to choose one or the other. Just working myself to death.
Well, that's cool though, man. And I, like I said, that's something that I think is cool when someone moonlights, because it takes some grit, like you say, to hang in there when things, because there's some guys that might, I mean, the easier route, honestly, probably would have been to have just quit doing the bows. Like it would have required probably less effort on your part, I feel like. I mean, I may be wrong in that, but I mean, would you agree?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, there's always the security of a career path that gives you a steady paycheck, a reliable one, and you get kind of hooked on that, I suppose, the steady paycheck. So yeah, it was not the path of least resistance, that's for sure.
Yeah.
There was always the call, like, because at the time I was making pretty decent money. So it's like, do I really need to even be doing this? Like, is this something that I could see as a long-term thing?
Yeah.
But moonlighting is really the only way you're going to find out. If you've got a full-time job, you got to, keep up with your normal life, then in my opinion, it's far wiser to just start moonlighting a little bit. Like I feel like it's a foolish decision for people just to quit their job and start some new like venture, that they dreamed up one night. Maybe if you've got some capital tucked away and you got some skin in the game, but if you're just, the average guy just working his job, I mean, you're definitely going to have to start moonlighting and just do that for an hour or two every night. And, maybe pick a Saturday work one of the days per weekend on your side hustle, your chosen secondary path, and eventually it's going to unfold, but it's definitely risky just to dive in head first.
Well, and I think a lot of people use time as an excuse to not pursue that thing. Like you see it one with fitness is like an easy one to point out. I mean, so many people, like if you ask the normal person that if you work out, a ton of people would say, I don't have time. And, like everybody has the same amount of time. That's one thing I love. Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's like, sleep faster. Is what he tells people. And like, man, if you really want something, you'll make the time for it. And
that's the key. If you really want it, you'll make the time. If you don't really want it, time is a perfect excuse. Time will get you out of it every time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's what I say. I appreciate that you moonlit. That's I hope people take away that from this listening, that man, if there's something you're into, I mean, and one, like you said, it's a smart way of approaching a goal or a dream. Like at the end of the day, let's say you started building bows and you were terrible at it and you were just moonlighting it on the side. At the end of the day, you don't have a ton of skin in the game. But if you were like, went up to your boss and kicked the door in and said, I quit, I'm going to start making bows, and you went and started making them and you were terrible at it, well, you just lost your job and burned that bridge. And now so I don't know, man. Like I say, that's I appreciate that that's the route that you went. I think that's smart. So you've started, you made the transition, you're full time. What's full time look like doing what you do?
I mean, I guess it really depends on what. It looks different now than it did a few years ago. Like when I've been full time for 2 years. When I first went full time, it was by necessity because I was taking custom orders. So the wait list was just really piling up. And then for my first probably my first year and a half in business, I was really focused on custom orders, and that was a grind, man. I had a long wait list, and it seems like every time I get 3 bows done, there's 5 more coming in. So I was just grinding on the wait list, sometimes 7 days a week, definitely for my first year, which, I mean, I was very immersed in what I was doing, and I really wanted to succeed, and I wanted to start my first year off with a bang. So that first year I was working like 7 days a week, really not being very kind to myself with time off, doing a lot of travel with events, which I mean is work, but isn't necessarily work, but time away from home can still wear on you as well. So
Yeah.
Wasn't treating myself very well with time off during that first year. And then I kind of started to just almost burn myself out. And that's my own fault. I could have been more reasonable with my quitting times because I was single and, working for myself. So what am I going to, like, instead of watching TV, why not just take those extra 2 hours at the end of the night and stay in the shop? So sometimes I'd be in the shop till 10:30 before I'd even go in and clean up. But obviously that's not sustainable. Anybody knows that. So I had to do some reevaluating this year, and I just put too much pressure on myself with the wait list and keeping wait times under 3 months for people. And I just decided that was kind of taking the joy out of it for me. So this year I'm building bows as more of one-off pieces, kind of like an artist or a painter would do, just working at my own pace. One of the other things about doing custom orders is, I mean, it's already a huge, you can see the staves behind me here.
I was going to say, I see it's already back there.
Yeah. It's already a huge revolving door of wood coming in. And when you're working on custom orders, it's even bigger revolving door. So you're constantly trying to make time for cutting and processing bow staves. And only so many of them are going to be ready at the same time. So you've got to kind of, you have to fill the wait list. So, or you're just kind of like picking which staves are ready. Whereas now when I'm doing them as one-off pieces, I can let the wood season and pick which staves I want to work. And, if I want to work a very challenging one that has cool character, I can do that. Or if I want to put one out that's like very symmetrical and clean, I can do that. So I'm enjoying this more. This is more nowadays. It's more of like the brand has sort of, it's more established than it was before. People recognize the organic archery bows and stuff. So it's just more normal now. Yeah, I get it. I get in the shop. I get up early. I have a morning routine, just like coffee and meditation, and so just really, I try to get my morning started off right in the shop no later than 9 o'clock. Try to get out of the shop by like 6 o'clock. I don't take I don't take lunch breaks or anything. I just work straight through the day. So
you don't eat lunch?
I don't eat lunch, man. We had a saying in the Marine Corps that chow is a crutch. I just keep on rolling.
Man, I like my crutches in. I love food. I love to eat lunch. 11 or 12 o'clock, I'm hurting.
Yeah. If you saw the breakfast and the dinner that I eat, you would understand that the lunch is definitely not needed. It's just kind of like my own little, it's not really intermittent fasting. People get, bent out of shape if I call it intermittent fasting, because I'm not really creating a long fasting window, but I just like 8 a.m. breakfast and 8 p.m. dinner. Just works out great for me and my schedule. And
that is, I mean, from an efficiency standpoint, that's pretty good. Like I could think about that on the farm. If I just would work straight through lunch, man, that'd be a whole nother hour. I could just gain and grinding, but boy, I'd be an unhappy fellow there for a few hours.
If you take that extra hour a day, that's practically a full another work day that you gain throughout the week. So the little stuff adds up.
What's breakfast look like for you then?
Usually at least 6 eggs, usually 8 to 10 ounces of meat of some kind, usually red meat, definitely into the red meat, some sort of ground beef or steak, sometimes bacon, usually a cup of oatmeal with a bunch of fruit in it. So I would say breakfast is somewhere around 2,000 calories by itself.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you drink like a protein shake or anything during the day?
No, just coffee and water.
Yeah. Man, I'm still hungry though, thinking like going from 8 to 8.
The key is to just get as many fats as you can in that breakfast meal, like the bacon, avocados. I cook everything in butter or oil. So the fats are what's going to keep you satisfied throughout the day.
Yeah. Yeah. What's dinner?
Dinner varies. I'm a big meat and potatoes kind of guy. So if I'm left up to my own devices, it's definitely going to be like a large portion of some kind of potato or root vegetable. And then a big old mountain of greens or something else beside it. And then a piece of steak or some sort of meat. It could be venison or elk or whatever I've got in the deep freeze as well. We butchered some sheep recently, me and my family. Sometimes we butcher pigs. So just whatever's in the freezer. Try to keep it cycling through.
Yeah. Well, that's what I just got. I had a bull actually that I raised. We have cattle, and I had a bull that the mother didn't take him. And so I just took him in. My wife and we bottle fed him and raised him. And that's what my cousin, he backgrounds cattle. And so he took him and fed him out and had him processed. And so, man, I just got like 200 and something pounds of like ground steaks and all that roast. My freezer, which I already had a bunch of deer meat in there still. So my freezer is like ready to rock and roll. So, I could eat red meat I could eat beef at every meal. I love venison and I love all that, but man, I have a special place in my heart for like some just good old fashioned beef.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's hard for me to beat that. Like I love the flavor of beef. So
beef and potatoes is a big go-to for me for sure.
Yes. Yeah, like roast. And it's pretty easy. Like you could do a roast in a crock pot with some potatoes and carrots. And that's like the easiest thing ever. Like it takes no effort to cook that.
Now throw it on in the morning, check up on it later.
Yep.
Pull it out when you're ready to eat. Over.
Yes. Well, that's interesting. Yeah, I've never thought about skipping lunch. Like I said, I'm actually a little bit hungrier now just thinking about like just the food talk we've had. But so you get into that, man. Now you were on alone. How did that come to be?
So there's a couple different ways that you can get onto a loan. One of them is to just submit an application kind of like blindly if you want to apply for the show. They have casting seasons, and you just apply or you get found by a casting agent. So Donnie Dust was on season 6. Him and I had worked several archery events prior to him going on the show, became good friends. So casting producer said, hey, we're kind of the talent pool by the time season 6 comes around is starting to look a little dried up. Like we want to know if you have any recommendations, and he threw my name out there. So just like, I guess casting agent called me and said, hey, we'd like you to apply. And it was the middle of winter. I think it was early February. And we had just got like 13 inches of snow. And I was like, yeah, sure. What do you need from me? They're like, oh, we need you to go out and film we need you to self-film for like 2 or 3 days, get us 8 hours of footage or something that we can use to make a sizzle reel for you for the network. And I was like, oh, that's cool. When do you need that done? And they're like, well, if you could do it they called me on a Thursday or something. They're like, if you could have it done by the end of the weekend, that'd be great. And I was like, oh shit, we just got a huge snowstorm. So yeah, I packed up a little bit of gear. I tried to do it. I'd seen a couple seasons of the show, but so I tried to do it as close to the show as I could. Threw 10 items in my backpack and a sleeping bag and a little bit of winter clothes and headed out down by my hometown. Headed out to one of the wilderness areas out there and built a primitive shelter and didn't bring any food, just filmed myself for 3 days fooling around in the snow. And then there's a lot of waiting involved. A few months later, they called me back and they said, hey, we'd love you to come to a selection camp. So 20 people are selected to go to upstate New York, where you have to prove your skills in front of a panel of experts. And then only, the top 10 are selected out of that group. So
what does that
went up
entail?
there. It's like fire starting, shelter building, animal processing. There's a cold water swim. I don't want to get too in detail. Some of it's under NDAs, but
I got you.
Yeah, it's just, proving that you can survive out there.
Yeah.
And there's like food restriction and stuff so that you're hungry throughout. Just making sure that there's tons of filming and stuff. They got to make sure that you are capable of running the camera equipment and that you'll have a decent personality for television.
Yeah.
So
they don't want you to be boring on there.
Yeah. But they yeah, that was pretty much it. Then you go to the selection camp, you leave, you come back home. A few months go by, you don't hear anything, and then they call you up and they're like, "Hey, you made it." Next thing you know, you're on a plane to the Northwest Territories in Canada. So
were you nervous?
Oh yeah, you'd be crazy not to be nervous. It's like the Olympics of survival. I mean, the show is definitely the show. There's always speculation, how much of the show is legit, but after being on it, it is about as legit as it gets. You really, you really do have 10 items plus, some select clothing to keep you alive. That doesn't count towards your kit. Yeah. But you really do have 10 items, and you really are flown miles away from base camp into the middle of some of the coldest and harshest environments in the world and just dropped off. And you're asked to film. They're like, you got to film 40 hours a week. We'll check up on you in a few weeks. Good luck. Thanks. And you don't hear anything. You're just out there alone.
How long were you on there? Because you got injured. Did you injure your knee on the show?
I did, yeah. I injured my knee pretty badly on like day 3 or 4 while I was building my shelter. I had a large piece of timber on my shoulder, and the terrain out there is it's impossible. It's just big. I was on kind of like the side of a mountain. There was a big granite slide. So there were these huge boulders. Pretty much my entire earth area was made up of these big boulders covered in slippery moss. So every step had to be carefully planned, and you get kind of exhausted by, I'm 3-4 days in at this point, building a shelter with no food. And so you start to get exhausted, maybe start to get a little sloppy. And I just slipped on one of those wet rocks and went down in a hole and heard a pop in my knee, kind of shook it off, didn't really think anything of it. Probably like 2 days after that, it started to really swell up full of fluid. Another 2 days after that, it was pretty bad. I was starting to lose stability. I was starting to not really feel safe walking around out there because it's already super dangerous with the rocks and the steep shorelines and the cold water.
Yeah.
So eventually, by day 12, I was done. I couldn't go any further. I had a baker's cyst on the back of my knee that was about the size of an avocado.
Nice.
And turns out got home, did some, they fly you straight to the hospital, obviously, if you need medical attention. The hospital in Northern Canada didn't have any sort of amenities. I mean, they did an ultrasound on it, really couldn't see. She's like, oh yeah, I can't tell you what's wrong in there, but something is definitely wrong. Like, this is the most fluid I've ever seen in a knee. It's like, okay. So get back to the States, find out it was a MCL meniscus combo. So
nice, both of them.
Yep. It was about a year-long recovery. But anyway, long story short, ended up only 12 days. I was done.
Were you mad? Was that disappointment, or what kind of mindset were you at that point?
Yeah, disappointment was really the only thing. I can't be mad, but I mean, it's my own fault. It happens. It seems like every season somebody gets injured, and I was feeling very confident going out there. I mean, there were multiple interviews before that I was saying, I'm out here to try to win. Like, the only thing that's going to take me out is an unforeseen injury. So
yeah,
I guess I sealed my own fate with that one.
Yeah, you jinxed yourself by saying that.
Yeah.
Was it
right?
Do you think, barring an injury, were you strong everywhere else? Do you feel like you think you could have hung in there aside from the injury?
For sure, I was feeling great. I had my whole plan went to shit as soon as I dropped. The location was nothing like I expected. But I improvised and ended up making a shelter that I was really happy with. It was very small, had a fireplace in it. The thing was like sweating me out at night, sleeping on top of my sleeping bag, just drenched in sweat. So I knew the shelter was going to be warm. And I wasn't having no luck with bow hunting, but I decided to make a gill net out of 550 cord, toss that thing out in the water. And as soon as it hit the water, it started catching fish. So my food situation was starting to look a lot better. Shelter was locked in. I felt like I was getting ready for cruise control, but just didn't work out that way. So disappointment was the only real emotion. I really planned on. Oh, go ahead.
Well, did you see a spike in people checking out your bows and stuff from being on the show?
Not a huge one. No, not really. Like people think that a little bit of exposure on the show just makes you blow up or something. But really, I mean, the Instagram and everything was already sort of fairly well established and already had kind of just like an organic following that was already there. And the show, I mean, there was obviously you're a ghost for the whole year that that it's leading up to it and everything has to be kept secret. And then while you're filming, it's all secret. And there's like a blackout period after you get back. So it wasn't until the show dropped that any sort of traction came from it. And really, I mean, maybe I got like 3,000 followers and like a few bow sales, maybe just a couple.
Yeah.
It was already rolling. Like the wait list was already, once I got back on social media, the wait list started piling up and everything. So
I bet it did when you're out of like kind of AWOL like that for a little bit. Yeah, but people are like, man, what's going on with this guy? Where'd he go?
Definitely. And unfortunately, I had to mislead people, when I left and make up some elaborate story that I was going to go to travel and do this stuff. And they're basically telling me like, you've got too many people are watching. Like you need to come up with a story that, you're going to be gone for a while. So I came up with a fake story, which made me feel terrible, but it felt good to get it off my chest when I got back and it just kicked right back.
Tell them you were going to be on the show.
No way. No. Alone is shrouded in secrecy. It's that's kind of how the show is successful. Just to like drop the cast last minute on you and then start the show, because if any little detail about it gets out into the general public, then the outcome of the show is ruined. So
yeah. Would you go back if you got another chance?
Yeah, they've done one redemption season. So I mean, it's a one and done unless you get called back for redemption. But they did one redemption season, I believe, season 5. So I mean, pretty soon here we'll be coming up on season 10. So with any luck, maybe every 5 years they do a redemption or something. But if they gave me a call, yeah, I'd love to give it another shot. I feel like I was taken out right when I was getting warmed up. So.
Well, man, I'd love to see you back on there. I had Lindsay Persico that had been on. She was on one of the early. What was that? Alone. Oh, I think they like actually killed a moose or something there and start them out with a moose, and they kind of do an Alone episode. It was a kind of a separate offshoot of the Alone show. I can't remember the actual name of it, but man, I don't know. I'm a sucker for all those shows. Alone, and I love Naked and Afraid. That's been one that my wife and I we watch it all the time. I get a kick out of it.
Anytime I'm traveling for events, the hotel always has all night long marathons of Naked and Afraid. So I'll binge that if I'm like at an in-between city on my way somewhere and just chilling in a hotel.
Yeah. Oh man, I love it. That's what I like at Winter Strong. I was like, there's Laura. Like, I was like, this is crazy. Yeah. I've seen her Naked and Afraid like 5 different times.
Yeah.
So, man, it's I don't know. They're neat. That show, Naked and Afraid. It kind of, I love it, but it can trip me out at times. Would you ever do that one?
No, I don't think so. I feel like, I mean, I respect the show. That looks like a suffer fest. I can't even imagine being in like the jungle with nothing but a pot and a knife. You know what I mean? No protection from bugs. I mean, the bug bites those people go through are just crazy. But
yeah,
I don't know. I don't think that's my style. Getting naked on TV.
No, me neither. Me neither. That's the one we were watching, like the XL episode or something. That's just the other night, and I mean, it was at night, and the camera's up, and it's in the no night vision, and it is just solid bugs. It's flying around. I mean, and they're like, it's like 3 a.m. They're waving their like bag trying to fan bugs away from them. Yeah, that just looks freaking miserable, man. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, and I mean, I couldn't imagine you being naked on on like regular cable television like that.
Yeah.
So, but
yeah,
no,
I respect everybody that goes on that show, but I'll pass.
Yeah, I saw Laura was asked to come back on it. I saw like today or today or yesterday, she shared something about they're doing like a Legends
Oh,
series.
really?
And, yeah, and they asked her to come back, and she turned it down.
Dang. Yeah, imagine she's after as many times as she's been on it, or I think, I don't know, I feel like I've read somewhere that she spent more time naked and afraid than any other survivalist. So, I mean, she's probably about had her fill. I'm sure there's other stuff she's pursuing.
Yeah, that's what she said. It was like basically if they did like some crazy 100 days in Siberia or something, she would probably be game for it. But she was pretty much done with all of what they got now. So
you can't blame her.
No. I mean, at Winter Strong, she was running around barefoot. So I mean, I don't doubt her savagery. Like if somebody doesn't know, like if she's legit, she's legit. I mean, she definitely is.
For sure.
So, man, all right. So you're doing the bows now. Now at Winter Strong, man, I got to brag. You shot. Well, first, did you ever go to the compound bow route, or have you always been with the trad bows and all that?
When I got back from the Marine Corps, I was shooting a store-bought recurve, and like I said, I was breaking lots of arrows, started making my own wooden arrows or whatever. But I stuck with that store-bought recurve for probably 6 months or so.
Yeah.
And I went out with one of my buddies squirrel hunting one day with our bows, and I had my recurve and he had his compound bow, and I was only hitting like every other, I don't know, fifth squirrel or something, and he's just like knocking them out of the tree right and left. And I got frustrated because I'm kind of competitive, so I ran out and impulse bought a compound bow and trained with it for just a short period of time, and went out for opening day of turkey season and kind of just got my I got my first turkey at 8:00 in the morning on opening day. It's not that it wasn't challenging or anything. And it was a long shot too. It was like 35 or 40 yards. And it wasn't that it wasn't challenging or anything, but I just felt like for whatever reason, the compound just didn't call to me. It just felt kind of mechanical, with the sights and everything. I felt like it was a little bit more easy to be accurate with them. So it just wasn't, like I said, it's not that it wasn't challenging, it just wasn't for me. So I shot that one turkey with that compound bow, hung it up, and I never used it again. I sold it like that fall, just for cheap on Craigslist. And from that point forward,
get it away from me.
At that point, from that point forward, all I've done is hunt with my own handmade bows. Yeah.
Well, I can attest, man, that was pretty wild. At Winter Strong, you shot the competition. Everybody, all of us used compound bows, and then you shot the competition with your custom bows, which was pretty freaking sweet, man. I mean, that's because everybody else has sights and dialed in, and I'll say, man, you're a real life Robin Hood. Like I was watching you, how fast you could shoot them. That was one of the things that was really cool to me. And didn't you say you've even seen guys, or you've tried it where you actually have the arrows like in your fingertips and you can kind of string them up as soon as you shoot one?
Yeah. They're definitely much faster archers than me that are using kind of like Arab style archery, different speed shooting techniques. But I'm not a fan of it. I don't like having the arrows in my draw hand. But I just like to, I try to practice to be as fast as I can from the back quiver, which is what you guys saw, obviously.
I was going to say, well, even that was, you were faster drawing from the quiver than I would be like plucking them off my old quiver on my compound, putting them on there. Yeah. I mean, dude, it's pretty awesome to see. Now you've evolved too with organic archery, because now you're even doing the sling shots that you were showing. That I saw the video. I guess was it today you put up the video of you hitting the cantaloupe with sling shots?
Yeah.
Is that like basically what the David and Goliath slingshot was?
A lot of historians believe so. Yeah. I mean, there's no doubt that it's not a slingshot that they're talking about in the scripture, with the rubber bands and like the pull like that.
Yeah.
The big argument between historians was whether or not it was the Balearic sling, which from the Balearic Islands. That was a sling that was attached to the finger. And then it has a tag end, and it's a long rope with a pouch, and it's swung around the head or to the side, and operated by hand. But there are several historians that believe that it was more likely that David would have used the staff sling, because there's different scripture where he refers to, having his staff and his sling in his hand. And it makes sense because Goliath, was a giant, and the staff sling is considerably more powerful than the Balearic sling.
How do you aim with that? It's like I'm watching from just watching perspective. I can't even really figure out how you're actually aiming. It's
all instinctive. So you do have to kind of tune the weapon. And that's all done with the length of the cords. So the length of the staff has to be tuned to the length of the cords. And you just kind of guess when you first build them. And then you just kind of have to throw. And there's different impacts mean different things. Like if you're doing a sidearm throw and you're getting left impacts, the cords are too long. If you're getting right impacts, they're too short. And if you are doing like an overhand or like a 45-degree throw, which is what I use, if you're getting like low and left impacts, you need to shorten the cords. If you're getting high and right or just high impacts, you need to lengthen the cords. So there's a little bit of tuning involved, but once you get the staff set up, I mean, you just like traditional archery, you just pick the smallest thing that you can stare at. Like if I'm throwing it at a stone, I throw it at a small imperfection in the center of the stone, and you just let it rip. It's all instinctive. Well, but a properly tuned staff will hit where you look.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, how far were you from that cantaloupe today?
That's probably about 20 or 25 yards.
Well, that was pretty, like I said, man, just watching it, it's like, man, how is he hitting this thing? Because, I'm imagining myself trying to do it. And I'm like, I feel like I'd just be flinging rocks everywhere.
No, you'd be surprised how accurate they are. I mean, they have to be set up for each individual person, but it's a mechanical release. The loose end slips off the staff at exactly the same angle every time. So as long it's just like with anything else, like archery or any other ball sport, you create repeatable form, and it'll release the same time every time. It definitely takes some practice. When I was the first day I took the sling out, I definitely had some that were like 20 feet off in one direction or the other, even from 20 yards away.
Yeah.
So it took a little bit of figuring out, but a couple hours of practice with that thing and you'd be dialed in.
Yeah. Well, man, I don't know. Like I said, I enjoyed watching you do that, and it was cool to see, because that's not the kind of stuff that you just don't see people busting that kind of weaponry out anymore. And but I think there's kind of a resurgence in that, like an interest in that, especially. Do you see that kind of? I guess even with this COVID times and stuff, are you seeing more of a spike in people being interested in the kind of the organic archery style things like that?
For sure. Yeah, I think there's just a big resurgence in, self-reliance and people being able to sort of fend for themselves. I mean, with everything that happened with the supermarket shelves going bare and basic commodities being sold out. And I mean, we've been in don't quote me, but probably the longest ammo crisis we've had in a while. I mean, you can't find ammunition for anything anywhere. I think where I'm at, the last time I saw ammo was just like 3 lonely boxes of 12 gauge shells sitting on an empty shelf somewhere. But I mean, out of necessity, I think people are just kind of being drawn to the old ways, self-reliance, and weapons that you can make yourself, that you can feed yourself with, that you can protect yourself with. So,
yeah, no, I agree.
There's definitely, I feel like there's a huge upsurge in traditional archery. As far as the rock slings, I don't think, when I was researching it, there's nothing even on the internet about it. There's like maybe you might be able to find like 2 or 3 guys that are throwing it on YouTube or something, but there's really not much information online. maybe some forums where people are just discussing it, but I just kind of had to go. I just had to kind of figure that one out for myself.
Yeah.
And then I posted that first video online a few weeks ago, and people are like, wow, I want one of those. So I built like 8 or 10 of them, and they sold before I even put them on the website. So I guess I'm going to start building. I guess I'm going to keep building them.
Yeah. Well, when the aliens invade, that might be our go-to weapon, man. The slingshots.
Right. I mean, the good part about
ammo.
it is ammo for it's like readily available and free. Just pick up a stone. So
yeah, man, it's that's pretty cool. And I'm seeing that, and I've kind of wondered, and I actually, even from a farming standpoint, I didn't grow any sweet corn last year. I used to grow a little, like a commercial patch of sweet corn, and I would sell that because, I mean, I'm pretty much all just grain row crop. But I would do a little sweet corn patch and sell it on the side. But it got really hard to try to juggle that and manage the crops at the same time. And last year, man, people were like, if I would have had a sweet corn patch, I could have absolutely just killed it because, I mean, people were freaking wanting it bad. And it's cool to me kind of seeing that. People are wanting that, seeing that with like cattle. People want like local beef. And you see that Montana Knife Company, the knives, they can't even get the knives up. Like they'll make like 300 speed goats and they sell out in like 3 minutes. And, you say, you make your slingshots and they sell out before you even put them up. There's something going on. Like I can't quite put my finger on what's going on. Like, I don't know if I do think that there's an aspect of it that's like good marketing. I'm not saying like it's not good marketing, but on the same side, I'm like, what is going on with like just the people? Why are we seeing this? Have you thought about that any?
Yeah, but I'm kind of in the same boat as you. I really don't know how to pinpoint it. Yeah. I mean, I can't chalk it up to marketing on my end because I didn't market the slings. I just posted a video one day, and then I just like posted a story one time, and the next thing I know, I'm sold out. So
yeah.
I really don't know, man. I don't know what's got everybody, but I'm happy to see it. Like I'm a big believer in the shop local, American made, support small businesses, support craftsmen. Yep. I mean, we got to get away from this just earth destroying, cheap, like mass manufactured bullshit. You know what I mean? And get back to quality made products that are sustainable and, that support our people, that support just Americans and our economy. And yeah,
no, I'm with you, man. I'm a big American made supporter. Like that's what I somehow I got in early and was one of the first guys that bought the speed goat. Like I somehow caught one like on the first go round and like I'm in some little groups on Instagram and they'll be like, man, I want a speed goat. I'm like, yeah, I've had one from the get go. Like, they all like hate me, but no, man, I love to see the resurgence, and I hope that it stays. I hope people learn. Which one thing that we got to do, and I told my wife this, we have to break away from the Amazon mentality. Like Amazon has everything on there. Like, I mean, my tractor has a little cylinder on the door that holds the door open. When I open it up, you can get on there and order the cylinder for that tractor, like for the door. Like, I mean, everything is on there. Yeah. I mean, but you're not supporting like the local businesses or the American made route when you do that. I mean,
right.
It's, man, I don't know. I'm not a fan. I guess I'm almost like anti the big guy, like, and kind of maybe that comes from me being a farmer. I'm a small farmer, and the big farmers make it really hard for the small farmers to try to get some land to work. So I don't know if maybe I kind of get some of that from that, but man, I don't know. We're in kind of interesting times.
it sort of goes back. I mean, the Amazon thing goes back to, do you get what you pay for though as well? I mean, you go ahead and buy a pocket knife on Amazon or a fixed blade knife on Amazon and see if it holds up anything like a knife from Montana Knife Company.
Yeah.
Or buy a wooden self bow that's been, that's going to be shipped from overseas and see how it holds up compared to one that's, made in the USA with a great warranty and just like, and a small business that stands behind their work. And I'm the same, man. I'm an anti-big guy.
Yeah. I mean, and
I don't like this giant like technopoly that's being formed.
No, I don't either. And I don't want people to take it wrong. Like I am a capitalist. Like I'm a pro-capitalist person. Like I'm for that, but I don't know. It's, I talked to Kip Fultz, when he was with Under Armour, and he talked about when them guys that get to the top of the level, because we actually got on a kind of a conspiracy theory conversation, and he was like, man, he said, I've been at a business that was at the top of the chain, and he said conspiracy theories are real. I mean, like he was like, when you're talking about like millions and billions of dollars, people will do anything to protect their assets. And so I don't know, man. I mean, I'm leery even with this like vaccine. Like I know people getting the vaccine, which I'm a younger guy, I'm in pretty good shape, so I have no desire to get the vaccine. My wife's a nurse and she has no desire to get the vaccine. I don't know, man. I just got I'm not a very trusting guy of the government.
No, I'm not just going to run over to the nearest, supermarket and be like, please inject unknown substance into my body that's never been tested on humans. Yeah. But then you get labeled anti-vaxxer or whatever. And just, people come out of the woodwork and attack you. And it's like, that's not what I'm saying at all. Like, I'm not anti-vax. I'm just saying like this vaccine has not been studied. Like maybe I'm just going to hold off for a little bit since I'm in the lowest risk demographic. And, I'm going to go ahead and see if this thing has any side effects before we go ahead and put an injection directly into my body. Yeah.
Do you get a flu shot?
I do not. No.
That's what
but I also kind of, I've had my fair share of vaccines. The military just pumps you full of vaccines. And obviously you go through vaccinations as a young person, before you go into school and everything. I'm just kind of more, I sort of subscribe to the belief that adult vaccines are pretty much useless. I mean, I've had enough flus in my life and I've had enough mandatory flu shots in my life that I don't see any point in me going back annually to be re-injected with the same vaccine.
Yeah. No, I was curious because I've had somebody that when I said something about not getting the COVID vaccine, and they were like, but you get the flu vaccine. And I said, I've never got the flu vaccine. I don't even know. Like my wife she could even get them from work and bring them home and like vaccinate people, I think, with the flu shot. And I've never got it. I don't even know if I've ever gotten the flu. Like I say that I'll probably get the flu tomorrow, but like, I don't know that I've ever even I've never gotten vaccinated for it, but I don't get it either. And I'm not an anti-vaxxer person. Like, I mean, I'm glad that we have vaccines for like whatever the Black Plague or whatever the crap is that used to wipe out like people. But COVID, I don't even know the morbidity rate of COVID is like less than 1% or something. So I'm really not, I don't know, man. I just don't really get the whole pressing of this vaccine on it.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep rolling the dice with sunshine and healthy food and exercise, and you guys can keep up with this is just general, but like keep up with just the office life and the sedentary lifestyle and the vaccine. You go that route. I'm gonna stick to what I know has treated me well for all of my adult life, and so maybe if I change my mind someday, so be it. But right now, I'm sticking to my guns, and we'll see where this thing goes.
Well, and that's actually a frustration of mine. You haven't seen any politicians or anybody tell people that they ought to just get healthy. Like you've not seen anybody like, how about you exercise? and take care of yourself, because it's like an overwhelmingly high percentage of people that have actually died from COVID that were either obese or they were, I mean, majority was obese. And
yeah,
now, and I get the obese standards are kind of weird, because like if you're a muscular guy, they don't, I think I've always heard somehow they don't take into account the, like, I guess your body mass index or kind of thing. Something like if you were a 215-pound guy, but your body fat was 8%, and they had another 215-pound guy and his body fat was 30%. I think both of you are considered obese. Like
yeah, they had a similar program in the military. Like I think for my height, the maximum weight that I was allowed to be was like maybe 200, somewhere in that range. But at that time, I was probably 215, 220 for most of my military career, and I would always get I'd always have to go in for the evals for being overweight and do the skin caliper tests and everything. But
man, I figured the military would be better on that kind of stuff, just because most of the guys probably are not obese, I would think.
No, definitely not in the Marine Corps for sure. But it's just more of a paper trail. You know, they just go by the height and weight standards and the basic fitness standard. I mean, you know, the Marine Corps fitness standards. So if you come in overweight, you got to prove that you're not, because on paper it just says you're 6'1" and 220. It doesn't say, you know, you have to have a paper trail that says like, oh, we've done a skin caliper test and he's 10% body fat or whatever.
I got you. Okay, well that makes sense. I don't know how they came up with that. Like 200 pounds, 6'1". That's not even that big, really. Like, I mean, I don't know. Now,
it was probably instated sometime around the same time as the food pyramid.
Yeah. Yeah, that's real accurate too. They say on the health
right.
But, all right, now not only do you make self bows and slingshots, but now you self tattoo. I've seen you tattooing there. What's up with that? When did you start doing that?
That's a pretty impulsive decision on my part. I've got a good friend, Keith Sires, from the Ramshackle Farms homestead, and we work events together. We were on the show together, and everywhere we go, Keith is tattooing people with the old school stick and poke. He's kind of just become known as the stick and poke tattoo guy. So we had an archery event in Arkansas recently, and some people were getting stick and pokes from them. And I've had this old stick and poke kit sealed up, just chilling in my closet for probably a year. Never touched it. Just bought it on impulse one day. And after seeing Keith throw some ink down on people, I came home and I'm like, well, screw it. I'm going to get this stick and poke out. Went straight for the hand, which in hindsight, I don't know. I haven't decided if that's a good decision yet, but yeah, just went for it, man. I watched like 3 YouTube videos, pulled out the stick and poke kit, and just fixed up the hand.
Yeah, the hand. Yeah, you went for like no. There's no other way that this has to be good. Like if you would have bombed, it's like this is on my hand.
I'm pretty particular though, and I've always been kind of artistic, so I knew I could. And it's just line work, you know. So I knew I could do line work on myself.
What is that? I mean, is it like? I mean, I don't have any tattoos. I don't know anything about it. But like, how does a stick and poke? Is it like a needle and you dip it in ink and you poke? I mean, how does that all work?
Yeah, it's I mean, there are a variety of different kinds of needles. You can use different sizes of round liners, and then there's shading needles as well. But it just depends on what size of lines you want. Like for my hand, I just grabbed a 9 round liner, which is fairly big, but makes pretty solid lines. So it's basically 9 very small needles, sort of like tightly packed into a small circle. Yeah. And so you just dip that in the ink, and then you just do about 7 pokes, 7 pokes, and then redip it. And it's just poke and dip until until you get what you want. But the idea is that you just puncture the skin just deep enough until you hear the pop, to get it to get it under there and no deeper.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of a technique to it, but I mean, it's tough to do on the hands because the skin is so thin there that you have to be very careful not to get blowouts, which is when the ink goes too deep into the skin and sort of like puddles outward and sort of look hazy.
Yeah.
But it's just, I don't know, you just got to find what works. Probably not the best way to just dive in and experiment on yourself, but it's pretty straight. It's pretty straightforward. It's been done for thousands of years.
Did you do that on your arm?
No, this is a half sleeve I'm working on right now, but an artist is doing it. Someone with the proper machinery.
Okay. I'll say, man, I bet that took forever with the stick and poke method doing it.
No, yeah, this is just covering up some old work that I got when I was very, very young, and I'm just doing the black work, and then I'll go back in later and do some stuff over the top. But first step is just laying down ink, man. It's pretty brutal. I'm about 6 or 7 hours in now, and I got another 6 or 7 to go to get it looking right. Yeah,
man. Yeah, I got a good buddy that he's got a sleeve, and like I said, man, I don't have any. I always tell my wife I'm going to get her name tattooed on my butt cheek, but I haven't done that
yet. Stick and poke's a good way to go. Next Winter Strong next year.
There you go. Next year, Winter Strong, I'll get her name stick and poked on my butt cheek there. She would really appreciate that. I'd come home and be like, I got you a gift at Winter Strong. So, well, man, do you follow much of the news? Are you a news guy very much?
No, man, I try to avoid that stuff like the plague. I know I self-consciously feel like I should be more aware of, current affairs, but at the same time, the world is burning down every day, right? According to the news. And I have not paid any attention to it whatsoever, unless something is brought to my attention for probably like the last 2 years, I bet. And I mean, it might be selfish, it might be naive, but it has significantly improved the quality of my life and just my overall vibration.
No, I'm with you, man. I had a Fox News app, and I'd get the notification, and dude, that was miserable. Staying that, because it's never good news, and so I got out of that. But I will say the one news that I've been into, and me and Brandon talked about it, dude. The aliens, man. I got to know, what are your thoughts, man? We're seeing the UFO report supposed to come out in June. Are you on board the alien train? What do you think?
I don't really know, man. I try to, I'd love to every once in a while, crack open a cold one and throw some conspiracy videos on YouTube if I'm just trying to kill a Saturday night or something. But I used to be real big into the aliens. I've seen way too many episodes of Ancient Aliens. Man, I think, how can you deny that humans are, not the only race that has been on this earth when you look at some of these ancient megastructures with their engineering that we can't even understand today, and their advanced knowledge of mathematics, and these stones that are carved to within a thousandth of an inch of perfect and quarried from hundreds of miles away. And, erected into these huge, glorious structures that we can't even fathom building today. I don't know, man. The earth holds some secrets, and I don't know what it looks like. I mean, every major culture, in the past worshipped different types of beings, whether it was bird people or giants or, people with elongated heads. And, I think, and there ancient scriptures about it, there's the different races in the Bible and different races in other ancient scriptures. And I feel like I don't know what it looks like, but I do not believe that humans are the only creatures that have inhabited this earth. I kind of have the belief that the earth is very old, right? The scientists have it right. The earth is many who knows how many billions of years old. But at the same time, I kind of believe that the Bible is the start of the human race.
Yeah.
And that before that, there were more advanced beings that maybe, lost their domain over the earth in one way or another, or were exposed to cataclysms or any number of things. But personally, I believe that the Bible is the start of the human race, and there's been some weird shit happening here before that, and they left evidence.
Yeah, it's man, I'm captivated by it, and it's something I used to like laugh at. Like my wife still thinks I'm like a weirdo if I start talking about aliens. I'm like, but I don't know. But I've always said, I don't know if I'm captivated by it because I want them to be real, like because I'm like aliens, man. But then on the same hand, I've also seen the movie Mars Attacks. Have you ever seen that?
Is that the one with the little guys with the helmets that shoot the laser beams that vaporize everybody? Yeah.
Yeah, they got the huge brain in there, and then like the song, that yodeling song or something plays and like explodes their brain.
Yeah.
I guess I'm captivated by it, but I also don't want them to come vaporize half of us either. So but I do think there's a lot of stuff we can't explain. Like, there obviously is. I mean, there's some weird stuff, man. And, as shady as the government is, when I saw like the Pentagon put out a report of these UFOs, and they're like, these are UFOs. We don't know what they are. Yeah. And then there's some report coming out in June. It's like their UFO report. And I'm pretty pumped to see what they put out. Now, one thing I think about, we're only going to see what they want us to see. Like, I'm confident they're not going to tell us all of their secrets on this stuff that they have.
No way.
So, I mean, I watched Bob Lazar's stuff. Have you watched his?
I don't remember. The name sounds very familiar, but I wouldn't know what his work was.
Well, he used to work at Area 51, like back in the 80s. And they did a documentary. He was on Rogan with Jeremy Corbyn, I think is the guy's name. And they like got linked up with George Knapp, but it's a pretty wild story. Bob like worked at Area 51, and supposedly they had him trying to reverse engineer this like gravity cube or some weird thing. I can't even remember exactly what it was, but Bob said it was like otherworldly, like it was not from here.
Yeah.
And he told some people about it. Well, then like cars started spying on him. Like he revealed, I guess, very top secret information, and they started like following him and scared him and fired him from this. And they erased his identity of ever working there, but they missed his name in this directory of this company. And so like there's no trail of him ever working there, except somebody found his name in the directory for the time frame that he supposedly worked there. So like They missed one little segment. So he was there. And man, he's got a wild story. And it has held the same story for like a 20-year time, or I guess 30 years now. It was in the 80s. I don't know, man. It's there's some weird stuff going on. That's all I know.
Yeah. But who knows whether or not the information that we're going to receive is truthful either, or whether it's just enough to shut us up, just enough to shut people up because they've been pressuring the government so hard for these, UFO documents, and other countries have been releasing evidence and, waiting for the U.S. to join in.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I'm a little bit leery about the evidence, about the, the documents that they'll show us just to keep us occupied versus what's really going on.
Well, that's true. And I mean that they're really good at showing us one thing to pull our attention here while they do this over here. Like,
right.
we're going to catch them like the dog with a bone over here when we secretly do all this over here to the side.
Right. Let's feed them a few UFO documents where we like put the internet in people over here and create artificial intelligence and like super soldier robots and shit.
Yeah. Yeah. So is that So do you see us facing aliens or the Terminator first? Which one do you think we're going to be up against first?
I think we'll experience some sort of artificial intelligence probably first.
Yeah.
I would say that there are a lot of powerful people that believe that that's the most imminent threat or the most likely outcome is that someone's going to develop some sort, I don't even know, man, like false god or whatever that knows all things and sees all things.
Yeah. Well, I think we're headed there, and I think there's and I keep saying weird stuff's going on, but like Bill Gates is now, I think, the largest farmland owner in America. I saw a thing like that not too long ago. Some people were sharing it in a farming group I'm in. He owns more farm ground, I think, than like anybody, and which is weird. Why does Bill Gates? Why is he buying all this farmland? And then I think they're talking about, like you said, wanting to put like people are wanting to have like a chip put in their head so that they have like their phone or something in their head or some crap, like, you know, like Google in your brain kind of thing. What kind of dummy wants to put that in their head? Like, I just can't understand that.
Right. Yeah. I think that's probably the next step, right? I've heard the Elon Musk interviews on Joe Rogan where they talk about how, Elon Musk is saying, your phone is already a cybernetic extension of you. So the next step is just to put it in you. Like you already have it in your pocket.
Yeah.
What's the difference, right?
Yeah.
It's like some revelation stuff, man. And Mark of the Beast. I'm opting out, man. I want to be all human.
No, that's me too. And if anything, I would love to go back to like the old flip phone days. Like, and I'm as guilty as anybody. I mean, I'll think of some dumb thing. I'll be like, what about that? What's the average size of a cottonmouth? And I'll be like, Google, and pull my phone out and Google it. Like, I mean, like if I went back to a flip phone, I'd actually have to try to remember stuff. But I don't know, man. I kind of miss those days. Like, especially I have 3-year-old twins. And I think about with them, like, they don't play on their phones. And I don't say any of that from like a high and mighty standpoint, but that's just, we don't want them in that like tech world as a kid. Because myself growing up, I just played in the woods. You know, that's where I played growing up. I was playing outside all the time. So, I don't know, man. It's
I think there's so much pressure to comply though, right? Like your kids are going to reach an age where they're being just bullied or like socially pressured. Like, oh, you're the only people, you're the only kids in the school without a phone. Like,
yep.
And then they'll be getting pressure from that direction. And then back to like the internet in your head thing. It's not that it's going to be mandatory, but it will be so appealing to have it. It'll be so convenient, I think that's kind of how everything gets pushed, right? Convenience.
Yeah.
It's like make it impossibly practical to have the item and people will line up to get it.
Well, isn't that the route they're trying to go with the vaccine? Like, I mean, I saw something where, I don't know if it'll go through, but they're trying to make it where, like, if you want to go to a concert or you want to travel or do all these things, then you have to show proof that you've been vaccinated. So it's like, we can't technically force you to be vaccinated, but we can make it where if you want to do anything at all, you have to show proof that you're vaccinated. Yeah. So it's like, I don't know. And again, I'm worried because I heard Biden the other day say that like amendments can be changed, or amendments they're not, I can't remember how he worded it, but he was basically saying amendments are not set in stone, which is like, yes, they are. Like that's the whole point of an amendment. Like if one amendment, because I think I'm sure it was probably an attack on the Second Amendment if I was a gambling man, but somebody was like, well, if that's the case, then what about the 16th Amendment about our taxes? We'll just quit paying taxes then, since they're not set in stone.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
That'd be the perfect way to put a stop to all the craziness. Just stop paying your taxes and the whole thing comes crumbling down.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I don't know, dude. It's like I said, we're in weird times. It's and I don't see the end. I mean, I don't get it today. We went to the store today and everybody was still wearing a mask, and we didn't put a mask on. Like, went into the store, and but like, it's if people are getting vaccinated, then why are they gonna? When's the mask thing gonna stop? Like, if vaccinations are in and everybody's getting vaccinated, then why do we need to keep wearing these masks? Like, I'm not a threat to them if they're vaccinated. It's kind of how I would see it.
Precisely. I think people are just scared, man. They just don't know. They don't educate themselves. That it's just kind of mob mentality, going with the masses, trusting, authority figures who are put there by people with agendas. I don't know, man. I think the world would be a little bit of a better place if people took it upon themselves, to educate themselves on facts in different areas of life instead of just trusting some guy who's on the TV who might have something, on the side that is motivating his information.
Yeah. That's the unfortunate part, man. Everybody's got an agenda. Like, you don't know who to believe. Like, you can't watch, like, I'm not going to watch Jimmy Kimmel to get my like news from. I know that man's agenda. Like, so I mean,
everything is so interwoven, right? Like, you can't always believe what the doctors say because they're being controlled by pharmaceutical industries, and you can't. I don't know, man. You can't. I feel like it's all just a big twisted up mess, and it's all run by money and runaway capitalism. And you can't build $1 trillion drug without mandatory vaccines, right?
Yeah.
It's all driven by these massive sums of money. Oh man, that's a question that's way bigger than me. Sitting here in my little bow shop in Southeast Nebraska, I haven't watched the news for 2 years. I'm not qualified to answer that question. I think I do really, one thing that resonates with me more than anything is some stuff that Jordan Peterson says. I mean, to me, he's arguably one of the most powerful minds of our time. And I think he's going to go down in history. But one thing that he says that I thoroughly enjoy and try to kind of structure my life around is that we have to stop looking at these giant problems as something that we can solve individually. Every person has their own fucking huge thing that they're trying to solve, right? Like, whether that's inequalities or just, or stuff that involves money or these huge corporations or all of it. Like, I'm sorry, I'm getting on a rant, but the moral of the story is, like, the only thing that we can do to change this stuff is become the best versions of ourselves that we can possibly be. Like, put your own life in order. Worry about your own health and your own financial situation, and just like, and treating people, if you don't want people to treat others badly, then treat everybody well,
Yeah.
Just put your own life in order. Take it upon yourself to make yourself the best version of you that you can be. And together we'll uplift the collective whole of humanity. Us as individuals, we can't solve these massive problems. They're way bigger than us. There's way too much money involved. There's way too much power. There's stuff going on behind the scenes that we can't even fathom. We're being manipulated as a society. So just get your shit together, man. Put yourself in order.
Yeah. I like that. Man. I think that's a good spot to probably close on.
Yeah. Sounds good.
That's a good message there. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Not really. If you want to, I guess the only other thing that I kind of try to spread if people ask on podcasts is, if you want to, pursue your dreams and try to, get out of the rat race and, get some freedom and do your own thing. I'm a big fan of the debt-free lifestyle. You guys got to get debt-free, man. That's the new American dream. Like, when you don't have any bills looming overhead, you are free. So get out from under that car payment, get out from under the mortgage, get out from under that bullshit that you put on layaway at Best Buy, and free yourself.
Yeah. Well, and that's, man, again, farmers are like some of the worst, man. All the new tractors come out. Everybody wants the new tractor. And the farmers that are making the biggest cheese are not usually running the baddest equipment. They're usually the guys running the stuff that they're working on, but it's all paid for because they're just taking that money home. So no, man, I think that's a good point. Where can we go and check more out what you're doing?
Pretty much the only social media I use right now is Instagram. I'm at organic_archer or Correy Hawk. You search either one and find me. And then my website is organicarchery.com. And that's where I post up bows for sale, keep people informed on class dates, things like that. If you want to come do like a 3-day bow building class, I do host those. And that's where I sell everything. And just, that's pretty much it. I'm not really on any other platform.
Now what's a typical turnaround like right now? Could somebody order a bow right now? I know you said you're kind of changing it up on your custom orders, but what if somebody?
I don't accept custom orders anymore. Just hang tight. I make a variety of different bows, all different weights, all different draw lengths. I'm trying to cater to different archers, different strengths, different purposes for the weapon. So just hang tight, and a bow that suits you will come up in due time.
Awesome. And like I say, man, go follow them. And what about the slingshots? Is that kind of the same way? You making those and just post up a batch of those, and then people get them when they get up there?
Yep, for sure. I think to prevent people from buying them up before they're even ready, maybe I'll just like do a story post the day before I'm going to drop a batch. And when they're gone, they're gone. They're selling fast. So I'm hoping to drop, I don't know, I'll just drop them every once in a while. I'm going to stick to the bows and arrows, but I like the slings a lot, and people seem to be having a lot of fun with them. So I'll be dropping a batch of slings every once in a while. If you guys follow me on Instagram, you'll see when they're ready to drop, and when they're gone until I can source materials for the next run.
Cool. Well, all right, brother. Well, man, everybody go check it out. Like I say, you won't be disappointed. He's always doing something awesome on there. Like I said, if he's not hitting the cantaloupe, next time he'll probably be hitting one like 100 yards with the slingshot soon.
I don't know about all that. A little more training is in order.
Correy, thanks for coming on the show, man. It's been fun.
Thanks, Logan. Great talking with you, man. Appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely, dude. And everybody, thank y'all. I hope y'all have a great one, and I hope y'all have a blessed day. Thank you.